CYC is a free channel that presents the Word of God for everyone. Your support will help us to continue the mission. Visit our website, cycnow.com. Even $1 will make a difference.
When I say truth, what comes to mind?
Christ.
Who said? Paul. Very good. Christ. What else? What is truth?
Reality.
Who said? Excellent. Excellent. Reality. What is truth?
Absolute.
Absolute. One of the characteristics of truth. We can expand on this a little. What is truth? You want to say something?
The way.
The way. Truth is the way. Very good. Christ is the way to the truth. Very good.
It doesn't change with time.
It doesn't change with time. Very good. So we have established a common understanding of truth. We build on this definition as we go on with the discussion, because it's important to define our terms first before we go on into the lecture, or else we'll be talking about two different things. So truth, is it important? Obviously, it's important. For the same reason, all of the definitions you mentioned are important. Here's what we will discuss. Why talk about truth? What is truth? Characteristics of truth, significance of truth, and why do we suppress the truth? Or why one or our culture suppresses the truth? Some statistics. 65%, I think I have the links or the reference. I have the references. I always like to put the references of any statistics so that you know that this is not just made up statistics. 65% of Americans say that there's no way to tell which religion is true. This was a research that was done by barna.org a few years back. I think the sample size was close to maybe 5,000 or so. 65% say there's no way to tell which religion is true. 58% believe all faiths teach equally valid truth, which is pluralism. Remember the picture I showed you last night? We're all climbing the same mountain. Okay. What are the cultural trends? Why talk about truth? Why is it important? And I will share with you some statements that are very common. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they are very, at least in California, they are very common on college campuses. These statements are, well, it may be true for you, it's not true for me. Do you hear that? Right? Don't force your values on me just because they're true for you. Aren't you a little arrogant by claiming that you have the truth? Who are you to impose your truth on my truth? Because what's true for you may not be true for me, right? And there are several other statements that imply that truth is relative. It is not, as you mentioned, it is not absolute. It's relative. In other words, I have my truth, you have your truth. You know, there's, I think last year we did this, and I don't want to repeat it again this year, but there are always comebacks, if you will, to these statements. For example, when someone tells you, no one knows the truth. Agnostics, by the way, say no one knows, because agnosticism is lack of or not knowing. No one knows the truth. What do you say to someone who says no one knows the truth?
How do you know that's true?
How do you know that's true? Exactly. Exactly. When someone says truth is relative, what do you say? Besides, relative to what is a good response. But when someone says truth is relative, I had a video, I wish I show you, maybe I'll share this video towards the end. I was doing an interview on a college campus, and I was asking, do you believe in absolute truth? So one of the responses was, no, truth is relative. So I asked him, so are you saying that truth is relative? You know what the response he said? Absolutely. It's not a joke. I'll show you the video. I'll show you the clip. This was not rehearsed. So when someone says truth is relative, you can respond and say, is that a relative truth? That truth is relative. Do you see? Those who say truth is relative believe everything else is relative except the statement that truth is relative. Do you get it? So you can apply the logic back. Is truth relative? Is that a relative truth? No one knows the truth. Well, how do you know that? well, this is true for you, but it's not true for me. You can say, is that true for you, but not for me? Do you see what I'm saying? So the logic self-refutes or self-destructs. You cannot escape the fact that truth, by definition, is absolute, as you mentioned. And we'll go on and we'll explain a little more. 72, here's another reference, 72 of Americans, I think also sample size, you can get the sample size in the info from the link, do not believe that absolute truth exists. Of course, we live in a culture that thrives on tolerance, open-mindedness, acceptance. Not that these values are evil or bad if appropriately understood. But we thrive on multiculturalism and tolerance, so of course it's very arrogant and very fanatic-like to say truth is absolute and I'm holding on to it. You see? Our current culture now believes that there are better ways of discovering truth, better ways than reason and logic and revelation according to Christians, the scriptures. What are the better ways of discovering truth in our culture nowadays? Science, very good. Even better than science. I should say worse than science. What are ways to discover truth? Media, very good. Media, what else? Yes, Tony. Experience. How about feelings? Feelings. I'll never forget one philosopher, apologist, his name is Dr. Ravi Zacharias, one of my favorite, and if you ever go to a bookstore and find a book that says written by Ravi Zacharias, do yourself a favor and buy it because it will be a good book. Ravi Zacharias said, we live in a generation that thinks with its feelings and listens with its eyes. We live in a generation that thinks with its feelings and listens with its eyes. True? Absolutely true. Feelings supersedes everything. If it feels good, it must be true. I'm almost reluctant to say what I'm about to say, but Hugh Hefner said in the 70s and 80s, if it feels good, then do it because it's good. That was kind of the motto of, anyways, let's move on. Feelings, experience, metaphors, intuitions, these are ways by which now our culture comes to define truth and attain truth. Let's go over truth over time, or timeline of truth. What happens from the first century to now, to this century? What happened to truth over the years? First, we have theistic mindset, or theism was prevalent at this time and predominant in the world between the first century and the 16th century or so. Truth has been revealed to man by God. Truth has been revealed to man by God. And this was kind of the ideology that was very prevalent at the time. Now by the 16th, 17th century, modernism crept in, and then truth has become no longer a revelation to man by God. Truth is now discovered by reason and logic. Reason and logic were very at the forefront of everything in the 15th, 16th, 17th century, maybe 16th, 17th, and 18th century. Why? What happened? Major events in the world that took place in these centuries that gave rise to reason and logic. Renaissance. What else? Two more. Renaissance and Europe as well. The Enlightenment. What else? The Industrial Revolution. All of these movements, if you will, gave rise to the importance of reason and logic. And they said, well, you know what? We can do it on our own. We can get truth on our own. We don't need him anymore. It's all about our mind, our technology, and so on and so forth. Now, in the 21st century, a realization. They realized that, you know what? Now we're depending so much on our reason, our logic, but we're missing a very important component, spirituality. We felt bankrupt as a society that we have missed out on this spirituality that we were getting from God. But we don't want to go back to a truth that is revealed to man by God. Well, what do? How about if we make up our own truth? Postmodernism, which is the era that we live in, truth does not exist objectively, it exists subjectively. That's why you see the rise of, as I mentioned yesterday, pantheism, Oprah Winfrey, if you listen to her, what does she say all the time? You have to discover the truth within, the divine within. And several others talk about truth is a self-constructed phenomena. It is no longer a revelation from God. It is a self-discovered phenomena. Okay, for some chuckles. What do these people have in common? Who are they first? George Washington, Richard Nixon, and Bill Clinton. What do they have in common? Besides the fact that they all end with N. Scandalous? He wasn't really. They too were, but he wasn't. Okay, as it relates to truth, he was known to what? Always tells the truth. He has never told a lie. He's never told the truth. And he doesn't know the difference. And if I'm not trying to pick on them, but his presidency highlights the era that we live in, postmodernism. And of course, we all know it all depends on the definition of is, if you all remember that. You know, what does is mean? Of his trials and scandals and so on and so forth. In other words, truth, there is a phenomenon called deconstructionism. Deconstructionism in a postmodern world is that there's no inherent authority in the text or in language. The authority of the text depends on the interpreter, not the author. In other words, you say whatever you want to say. It depends on how I understand it. And he understood certain things his own way because it's subjective. There's no absolute transcendent truth. Okay. All right, let's move on. Our culture's perspective of truth is, I wanted to sum it up and make it concise so that we can understand it. First, I don't know the truth. What is that called again? Agnosticism. I don't know. I don't know the truth. Second, all truth is good. Pluralism. All truth is good. First, I don't know what it is. Second, all truth is good. And third, what would you guess? Huh? I don't know the difference. Yeah, that was the previous slide. There's no truth. Very good. No truth. But even worse than no truth. Maybe no truth may give you your truth is wrong or relative truth. Truth is relative. In other words, whatever floats your boat. Man, if you're worshiping a cow, speaking of cows, my son comes to me and tells me, hey, Dad, I had a friend, and then his friend invited him to a play date, and then his friend told him, hey, Daniel, come and see. Daniel told him, I'm going to church, and so on and so forth. He said, well, come, I'm going to show you my God. So Daniel said, wow, that's great. This guy is religious too. So he took him to he was Indian. He took him to his home and he showed him a cow. This is no joke. He showed him a cow with incense and he said, this is my God. So my son comes to me and he says, well, wait a minute. You're telling me Jesus Christ is God. And my friend is telling me this cow is God. Who's God? You see? So truth is relative. Your God, if it floats your boat to worship a cow, it's fine. If I worship whatever, it's fine. Anyways, this is our culture's perspective of truth. It has become relative. It has become unknown. It has become diluted. Everything is true. What is truth is the next point we will discuss. What is truth? The most pivotal question across the centuries. The question that Pilate asked Christ in John 18, verse 38. What is truth? And this question, or the spirit of this question, continues until 2013. What is truth? People want to know what is truth. But I'd like to say, who was standing before who? It wasn't that Christ standing before Pilate. It was Pilate standing before Christ. And this is how we should see this dialogue and interaction. What's ironic about this question is that Pilate was looking at truth and asking him, what is truth? Do you know what happened afterwards? Verse 39, this is verse 38. Unfortunately, when Pilate asked Christ, what is truth? What happened to Pilate? He left. He left and did not want to hear the answer. Pretty sad. But anyways, the spirit of the question lingers. So what is truth? Someone said reality. You did. Yeah. Right? So truth is, if I were to give you the textbook philosophical definition of truth, there's a correspondence theory of truth that says truth is that which corresponds to reality. In other words, if it is raining outside and I tell you, or I make a propositional statement or propositional truth and I say it is raining outside. Now for you to evaluate the truthfulness of this statement, you can simply look outside and see if that statement matches reality. If it matches reality, it is true. If it is sunny outside and I'm saying it's raining outside and it does not match reality, it's false. It's very simple. Okay? And this is the Aristotelian also theory of truth when he said something to that effect, but he said it in a more complicated way. So what are the characteristics of truth? So we said what truth is. What are the characteristics? We mentioned it's absolute, it's reality. What else? Truth is, yes, Tony.
You mentioned before that it was timeless.
Timeless, right here. Timeless truth, eternal. So truth is absolute by definition, by nature. It's absolute. What does it mean that it's absolute? What does absolute mean? Well, here. I didn't mean to. It means it's transcendent for all people. What else? It's eternal. Just like Tony said, eternal at all times. And you can guess the third. For all people, at all times, in all places. It's universal. So truth is absolute. In other words, what is true here in Titusville is also true in Australia. And what's true now has been true 100 years from ago and 100 years from now. It's eternal, it's transcendent, it's universal. Truth is absolute. It's beyond any subjectivity. So what else about truth? Truth is exclusive. Another definition of truth. It's exclusive. You know what that means? When a statement is true, it excludes everything else that contradicts as false. When I say 2 plus 2 equals 4, that is a very narrow and exclusive definition of truth because it can only equal 4. Can you say 2 plus 2 equals 4 and 5? No. It can only be one exclusive truth. Why is that? Think with me, because of the law of non-contradiction, a law in philosophy. Everything cannot be true. And people say, and the pluralistic individuals say, everything is true. But everything cannot be true. Because if everything is true, then nothing is false. And if there's nothing false, then it would also be true to say everything is false. Do you get it? Let me repeat that again. If everything is true, then nothing is false. If nothing is false, then it would be true to say everything is false. And you can't have it both ways. 2 plus 2 will always equal 4. Now, can we say, when we talk about pluralism, some say all religions are true because they worship the same God. And we can say, well, truth is exclusive. It is more logical to say that all religions are false than to say all religions are true. You see? Why? Because of a simple law in philosophy called the law of non-contradiction. When I say today is, Saturday in Titusville, it cannot be Saturday and Friday. It's more plausible for it to be neither. It could be Sunday or Monday. But I cannot say today is Saturday and Friday in Titusville. Take religious claims, for example. The Lord Jesus Christ, He cannot be the crucified Savior on the cross in one faith, and in another religion, He was never crucified, but it was whatever that is. Okay? So how can this be true and this be true? They are not different statements. They are contradicting statements. So today could be Saturday in Titusville, and it also could be humid. These are differing statements, but they're not contradicting. And that's the whole point of pluralism. All religions cannot be teaching the same equally valid truth because they teach contradicting truth claims. Therefore, according to the law of non-contradiction, all religions cannot be true. Well then, does that mean that they're all false? Well, can we then discover which one holds the truth? And wouldn't that be a great thing to discuss? How will I be able to determine which religion holds the true faith, and what are the tests? And we can talk about that maybe in another time. So we said transcendent, exclusive, also revealed. Truth is not discovered. Galileo, when he discovered that the earth was what? Round. It was not something that he discovered. What did he do? He discovered a pre-existing truth. You see? Truth is not discovered. I am sorry. I should not have said that. Truth is not invented. It is discovered. It is not invented. It is revealed and discovered. Do you know what the word for truth is in Coptic or Greek? Elithos. Do you know what elithos means? You know, like we say it in the liturgy all the time. Pistef omein, elithos, pistef omein, or elithos gar. In the liturgy we say the word elithos. What does elithos means? Truth. I'm sorry. Elithos means truth. What does the word mean? If you were to look at the etymology of the word. Means, as I mentioned yesterday, against or not. Not. What does lithos means in Greek? Hidden. From it comes lid, to cover. Lithos means to hide or to cover. Lithos means to unhide or uncover. So truth, by definition of the word itself, means to reveal, to uncover, to unhide. You see, if you were to understand the Greek philosophers and how they looked at truth claims and truth by definition, you will have some appreciation to what truth is, not like what we nowadays understand. Okay, so now this is a time for an exercise. An exercise that will require all of you to get up. Can you please all get up? Okay. Abuna, you're exempt from this. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. Okay. So, you cannot be touching anything around you. You have some space between you and the person next to you. Have some space between you and the person next to you. And don't touch anything. Okay? Don't touch anything. So, here is what the exercise is about. You're going to close your eyes. And you will take maybe 6 or 7 revolutions. You're going to go in circles where you are in circles. And when I tell you to stop, you stop and you keep your eyes closed. Keep your eyes closed. And he's taking a picture. Okay. So, but here's the thing. You have to allow some space, and when you're going around yourself like this, you cannot touch anything. And you're going to make some circles until I tell you stop. When you stop, keep your eyes closed. Go. Don't touch anything. Keep going. Keep going. Keep your eyes closed. Keep going. Keep going. Stop. Keep your eyes closed. Now, point to where you think north is. And keep pointing and your eyes are closed. Keep to where you think north is and keep your eyes closed. Okay? Now, keep pointing, and as you are pointing now, open your eyes. Now, look around you. Look around you. So, most of everyone is pointing in different directions to where they think north is. Now, well, the exercise is over. Now, if you want to know where north is, where is north? I have a compass that tells me where north is, and it's this way. It's this way. So what's the point of this exercise? What is the point? You tell me. For me to know the truth, I cannot invent it myself, and truth is not subject to what I think it is. Truth is not subject to my opinion or my preference or what I think it is. Truth is by definition transcendent. You know what I mean by transcendent? It's beyond me. I discover it. I go to get it. It's objective. It is not subjective. You know what subjective means? It depends on the subject. It depends on me. Objective means it's beyond me. I go to it. Truth comes to me. Truth does not come from me. You see? So that's the point I was trying to make with this exercise, and also to wake up a little as well, because I was getting sleepy myself. So truth is discovered, objective, transcendent.